Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Propagandacast with I, Imperial Dane, your handsome host for today, straight from the Propaganda Ministry here in Denmark. And today we have for you a 1 versus 1 on Langres. Yes, indeed, it is that rather close map where there's, well, not much distance between the two bases, and of course we'll find the main point du jour where the actual hotspot is right here, as usual, with this little building providing a nice supporting point for any heavy machine guns or infantry if the fighting does take place in these sides. In this side, heavy machine guns or any sort of machine gun is much more preferred. So of course let's in fact get on with this, as it will in fact be quite a map, and so I'd rather get to the action. And of course we can always sketch things up as we're on the go right here in the start, as things are not really happening much there except some construction of barracks and Wehrmacht quarters. And we are, my goodness, my apologies, that wasn't quite intended, but we are seeing GrandRoyale, perhaps a Frenchman, perhaps not, but nonetheless GrandRoyale leading the 3rd Armoured Division in the fight against the Germans. And who shall be opposing him? Helliar, Hauptsturmführer Helliar of the 17th SS Panzergrenadier Division Götz von Berlichingen, ready to show those Yankees what it is all about. Of course, GrandRoyale is ready to show those Krauts who's got the boots on here. Question is, who will actually be it, or shall he be crushed beneath the jackboots of the stormtroopers? That shall of course be interesting. We are seeing a nice spread out here, although going straight for the strategic point, ignoring the munitions point right there. Interesting. Probably going for this fuel point right away then. Certainly a bold move, while Helliar is taking it a lot more cautiously. Volksgrenadiers hitting the field. Some fresh SS replacement, I suppose they can always represent. Not fully trained yet, but still able to do a bit of a fight. And riflemen getting out. Good show, good show. Well, not much of a show at the moment. 3rd Armoured Division, of course, being one of the armoured divisions, although general, the Allies did have a lot more armor than the Germans, in particular in the American sector. What with the American even having an infantry division, would at least have more armor than most infantry divisions the Germans had. In fact, they had probably had more armor than the 17th SS, which only was a Panzergrenadier division. And we have an early fight here. Volksgrenadiers getting 1 rifleman, 2 riflemen down. Riflemen just continuing to hammer away. Perhaps not the best engagement right here, getting close to there. The Volksgrenadiers did get the jump, but now the riflemen are able to use their M1 semi-automatic Garand rifles right up close, cutting apart the Volksgrenadiers, forcing Helliar's forces back. Early engagement. Victor so far, GrandRoyale, or GrandRoyale, I suppose, or GrandRoyale E. Depends on where he's from, I suppose, in the US. All sorts of pronunciation. And we are seeing this heavy machine gun being caught out in the open. We'll have to retreat, and we are having a bit of engagement here as he's trying to barb wire this area off. But these engineers, again, note, units under fire take a lot more damage. So if you're trying to lay down some barbed wire, your troops will in fact take quite a bit more damage, and these engineers will in fact be torn apart by 2 pioneers without the pioneers actually taking any damage. Pioneers holding up behind some bushes. Riflemen going straight for the strategic cutoff point. Pioneers continuing in the west, though. Good move. The Americans have been completely forgotten that. Apparently focusing right here at this rather important bit, though, as this is usual outmarch point for the German forces. Engineers continuing the fight against the Pioneers. Pioneers forced to retreat, albeit they might have done that last engineer in. Volksgrenadiers marching out under the aegis of the MG-42. Further troops will probably be out from the Wehrmacht quarters, and we are probably going to see some further riflemen coming out for GrandRoyale. Yes, indeed, 2 rifleman teams out already. Engineers continuing the business of laying down barbed wire, although it's only the last one left, so there's not really much to say to anyone else. They have to stop complaining and just lay down some more. And riflemen continuing in here, hoping to catch some pioneers, perhaps to just do some harassment. Further engagement here. Volksgrenadiers ending up right into it. And these riflemen do not engage the Volksgrenadiers, instead continuing to take the point, albeit the Volksgrenadiers might take up positions in the barn, and they do. The old empty barn now providing cover for these Volksgrenadiers, getting a nice drop on these riflemen. And of course further Volksgrenadiers marching in to support the first ones, and the heavy machine gun in a nice support position, ready to prevent any flanking perhaps. or harassment of the central point, and these riflemen might in fact fall straight into it. Riflemen here forced into retreat in the face of all these dashing Volksgrenadiers, and looks like these riflemen once more going for this strategic point. Harassment running straight into the MG42, getting one gunner, and my goodness, a bit unfortunate there though for these MG42s. Right out in the open, no cover whatsoever, so of course they can take a bit more damage, and any sort of proper flank might actually see it very soon dead. Pioneers just continuing the work in the west. My goodness, while the Americans are going for the strategic cut-off points at the same time and sneaking about here. Good move from GrandRoyale. And Rifleman getting the drop on these Volksgrenadiers, cutting one down swiftly, leaving the others to retreat across open ground while the Riflemen fire away. Not looking good. Second Volksgrenadier team nearby could move into support. Apparently are not. These chaps instead setting up position in the building. Not bad, while the Riflemen once more going for the strategic cutoff point. And we are seeing a sniper out from Helliar. Sniper Koenig getting a few riflemen with his Gewehr 43, which is scoped. And these riflemen are forced to retreat straight through the arc of fire. MG42, one down, the rest making it out of there. And now we are seeing the Americans pushing hard through the west now, having done what they feel is their share of harassment. In fact, it doesn't look good for Helliar. Most of his territory is in fact cut off, or in the hands of the Americans, even that very close to him. So he's in fact not probably going to have much fuel at the moment, or munitions, whilst the Americans have plenty of fuel, plenty of munitions. Of course, it doesn't look like they're actually using any of that to perhaps lay down some mines, which could be to the advantage of either side. Instead, going straight for the triage center. And Rifleman continuing to take sniper fire. This chap is doing alright, although it looks like the American Riflemen are ready to attack this point again. Heavy on the harassment. Rather interesting. Apparently they aren't realizing they're under sniper fire. Well, they are, but apparently their commander isn't. That's always fun. Third shot is a miss. MG42 setting up. Nice job there. Rifleman setting up for flank. Catching these Volksgrenadiers out in the open, although these Riflemen might end up in a very nasty fate. No Riflemen moving in from the south as well, but straight into the MG42. Riflemen moving in from the west, taking sniper fire and Volksgrenadier fire. Do they have grenades? So they hope to just, with the raw power of their rifles, just turn that MG42 into mush. Looks like it. Sniper retreating though. Volksgrenadiers moving in from the east from the house. MG42 forced to retreat. Oh goodness gracious, losing the MG42. That is not good. That's quite a devastating loss this early. And Volksgrenadiers forced into the retreat as well. And we are seeing a supply yard coming out. We'll probably be expecting a motor pool very soon. Volksgrenadiers, oh dear, standing out in the open against several rifleman teams. They will have to get out of there, and they do by the grace of the fatherland. Americans applying a lot of pressure so far early on against poor Helliar. Losing an MG42 already. Only two Volksgrenadier teams and a sniper now to hold things for him, and of course the ever persistent threat of armored cars does hang over him like the sword of Damocles. And a second MG42 is out, but again it's a very bad position, no cover for it, albeit a bit of light, but still you have to be careful about that. Going straight for the cutoff point again, protecting it, but still it is rendered neutral, not in the hands of the Wehrmacht, giving them no access to this fuel point. And we are seeing a good users there. Krieg barracks up, having seen no BIRs for the Rifleman. He is of course expecting some sort of armored car, which is a good thing. Again, if you're not seeing BIRs after a certain point, get a pack as soon as possible, because you're going to be hit by the armored car, and if you don't have anything to protect against it, you might end up in a very, very unpleasant situation. Engineers laying down mines, but they are under sniper fire. Question is if Helliar actually picks up on this, in which case of course he will be aware that he does have to look out for mines now. Riflemen tearing apart Volksgrenadiers. Jeep now out on the field, ready to hunt down that sniper. Quite interesting. Riflemen with veterancy 1, my goodness. Having quite a few German forces on their conscience, and now tearing apart these Volksgrenadiers with veterans 1. Of course they are harder to hit and have a much easier time hitting anything. And oh my goodness, a Volksgrenadier team is cut down in seconds. Jeep going in for the sniper kill. Oh goodness gracious, continuing in, running straight into Pioneers. Sniper not in a high position. The Volksgrenadiers can provide cover. Perhaps a Panzerfaust might knock it out, and of course also provide some salvageable munitions for the Wehrmacht. 17th SS are in a very perilous situation. Again, no decent front line, constantly getting harassed here. No attempt at further protection. Grenadiers hitting the field. We'll need to get a pack next time, although we aren't seeing any sort of... oh goodness, now I lost the trail. No, we aren't seeing a motor pool. Instead, we are seeing the BAR again. Perhaps using this sort of indecision, because again, it is a bit of a juggling thing for the Wehrmacht. If you go expecting BARs and he throws in an armored car, you might be in trouble, and vice versa. Instead, he is going for the BAR, hoping to push his infantry advantage. Of course, Grenadiers can be a bit more of help, and of course, good to replace that lost infantry team, but he needs more infantry then. And he needs to do something here to protect this area, perhaps some barbed wire here to ensure that the riflemen cannot harass so easily. And Pioneers forced to retreat straight through these riflemen with BARs. Not a happy situation. Grenadiers ready to deal with this threat. Will they catch them going into the barn straight away? Good position. Veterancy 1 for these riflemen as well. And of course, supply does decrease the upkeep rate even without any upgrades. So that's of course a nice thing. But of course, the best thing is to get some upgrades for it. Also increases the rate of veterancy for infantry. BAR equipped riflemen flanking on this MG42. Goodness gracious. And a push by Volksgrenadiers here. Not staying near this MG42. Grenadiers forced out of the building as flamethrowers are moving in. My goodness, Helliar is not with much infantry on the field. And more problematically, he isn't actually keeping it together, thus increasing the amount of firepower he can get on the Americans. And once more, he's losing territory by the bounds. We are seeing something else coming out. The Krieg Barracks. What shall it be? In fact, let's go have a look at Helliar. And he is getting the pack. Oh, bad. I don't know why now that he has seen that the American commander has gone for BARs. And we are seeing mines being laid down here. Good move by GrandRoyale. Good move indeed. No doctrine yet. As for Helliar, these riflemen are getting torn apart out in the open. Volksgrenadiers is continuing the fight here, getting the drop on these engineers, trying to take out this munitions point, which is, and my goodness, Helliar has an extraordinary amount of munitions, but he has not used it to lay down even a single mine or even get some flamethrowers or anything. My goodness. What on earth is Helliar doing all this munitions? Why isn't he, for example, dropping some grenades here or anything? I mean, that's a bad move, Helliar. You need to use those munitions for something like mining. That could really do something to, for example, protect that area. Mines would have done miraculously. Oh, goodness gracious. And Volksgrenadiers is continuing the work here. I'm not seeing some sort of really solid strategy from Helliar here. Getting veterancy but not enough infantry. Not using his munitions. He's really getting hammered up on here by the American commander. GrandRoyale putting up the pressure here. Pack now being ordered to fire away. In fact, getting one rifleman with the first shot. But now riflemen are turning upon the pack. MG42 moving in, Grenadiers as well, but if they are standing out in the open, they can end up in a very nasty position, as of course no cover means they take a lot more damage. Grenadiers will have to drop something, a grenade. They get into cover, Helliar. Get your infantry into cover, you blasted fool. And riflemen are continuing, and we are seeing grenades, my goodness. MG42 getting torn apart, and where is your infantry, Helliar? Where is your infantry? This rifleman team has been suppressed, but things are not looking good. MG42 forced to retreat. Grenadiers standing out in the open, not taking up cover here. Oh, bloody hell. And these Volksgrenadiers just continue the harassment instead of joining in the fight. Why isn't he doing something? Why? My goodness. And the riflemen just continue to expertly lay on the pressure here from all sides. We are seeing, of course, the usual rifle halts and going straight for the tank depot, really hoping to put the final nail in the coffin. And what shall Helliar be doing? Hopefully something sensible. MG42 sending up once more in the nasty spot. Obeyed. They are getting a bit of cover from the grenade. Rifleman out in the open, getting torn apart even with veterancy 2. Grenade being dropped on the MG42, but misses a bit, only killing one. And finally freeing up this pinning down, but still not a lot of territory. Volksgrenadiers getting fired upon. Why aren't they doing anything to really help the effort? Riflemen pushing towards the west, not caring much about this apparently, and we'll be seeing some infantry. Get some infantry, Helliar. Get some more infantry, you blasted fool. And Grenadiers getting torn apart. MG42 sending up grenades being dropped at the Grenadiers. Grenadiers will have to force The forced to retreat. MG42 firing up on these riflemen and finally using some of all that munitions he has been stockpiling, as if though he was preparing for the Ardennes. Clearing out one rifleman, but again, not best throw, and these MG42 gunners barely get out of there, and apparently he's going straight for the Stu 42. Yes, that could in fact do the trick, but still it was an absolute terrible gamble, and in fact he doesn't know there's a tank depot, and in fact, if you're seeing this sort of thing, lots of riflemen with BRs and grenades, it's not going to be a far throw to imagine that he's also going to go for some sort of armor next. Oh, hiccup. Volksgrenadiers continuing the harassment job. Grenadiers once more the only thing to hold its line. Stu 42 still not appearing. Grenade being dropped on riflemen, killing almost the entire team. Will they be able to get the final drop? Pioneers hitting a mine, and no, they do not kill the last man. That was a bit unfortunate. And Stu 42 hitting the field mine down there as well. Stu 42 ignoring that, thankfully. Might get the drop on these riflemen. Quite the gamble, but of course with a tank depot, of course, which he does not know, it might end up backfiring. Stu 42 opening up on these riflemen, and the haystack apparently managed to absorb most of the explosion. And riflemen charging in, hoping to perhaps scare them, and a good shot there, killing 2 riflemen. MG42 opening up. Grenadiers not looking too good. I've been seeing any veterancy from the armor depot, no. And riflemen getting torn apart, getting the drop though on the pack, and the MG42 not looking good, not looking good. Crushing a few under the treads of the Stu 42, forcing them all to retreat. Still some heavy losses. Pack cleared out, and riflemen containing the flank. MG42 will have to retreat, and Stu 42 will have to deal with those flanking riflemen. Come on, Helliar. Do it for the fatherland, or something at least. And instead, no, he is too slow, and the American seized his pack. Opening up, clearing up the crew most graciously, thankfully. Forcing these riflemen back as well, and we are seeing a Sherman out. M4 Sherman, that's certainly going to provide quite the issue for Helliar, unless he actually gets something out to crew that pack and get some Panzergrenadiers. He really needs something, otherwise that Sherman will be able to just tear apart everything he's so desperately worked to hold together. Opening up on the Stu 42. Pack has been recruited. Grenadiers will have to retreat. Pioneers moving in to repair, apparently, yes. But not while they are under fire, my goodness. Helliar, don't you have any sort of decency for your men? Stormtroopers being called in. Getting Panzergrenadiers. Pack opening up, forcing back the Sherman. A bit of respite, but still that has not been the... And he's forgotten the sniper. He had a sniper, but he's forgotten him inside the headquarters. Oh dear. Still, he has managed to stabilize the situation for now, so let's give him the benefit of that. Rifleman charging in here on these Volksgrenadiers. Grenade going to be dropped. Volksgrenadiers going straight into the line of fire. That's rather the wrong approach. Looks like these riflemen might tear them apart. No, the riflemen in fact ignore them, going straight for this cut-off point. Straight into the line of fire of the pack, and Panzergrenadiers nearby. Opting to open up. Pack might be cleared out though. And pack is gone, yes indeed. Will the Panzergrenadier finally hit? Main gun destroyed on the Sherman. Good job. Grenadiers nearby. Stormtroopers charging into everything. Get them out of there and get that sniper into the fight, Helliar. MG42 covering the pack, and Volksgrenadiers joining in as well. Going straight for the Sturm Armory now. Rifleman getting torn apart. Not entirely sure why GrandRoyale is just letting his men stand out in the open. So it does seem like he's getting a bit incautious, getting a bit too eager, too aggressive, and just throwing away in incautious assaults on the base and the Stu 42. And there we go. Sniper is back. Good show. Helliar finally getting some decent grip on things. Grenadiers and Stormtroopers reinforcing the 17th SS, showing a bit more veteran backbone after such unfortunate a start. Certainly a lot of things for Helliar to improve upon, and let's return to GrandRoyale. No doctrine as of yet. That's a bit curious. In particular, since all these points, he could in fact go for a Calliope, he could go for Rangers, artillery, possibly even sooner Pershing, yet he has not gone for any of it. Stu 42 opening up, going straight in against the Sherman, perhaps hoping that he can land a killing blow against this heavily damaged Sherman. In fact, clearing out the engineer team in a rather bold maneuver, forcing the engineers back. And the howitzer shells actually do quite a bit of damage to this Sherman, in fact blowing up pieces of sandbags from the front. And another shot. My goodness, the Stu 42 here might actually take out a tank. And there we go. High explosive shells knock out that Sherman. A brilliant shot for this Stu 42. The crew has all rights to be proud. Certainly got something to brag about there. Riflemen charging in. Yes, sticky bombs on the way. My goodness, this 242 might be lost. That would be tragic. But a round fired. 3 riflemen down. And they retreat, interestingly. And a fresh second Sherman being sent out. No tank destroyers to perhaps support that Sherman. Interesting. And stormtroopers and grenadiers caught out in the open. Not engaging these riflemen on the flank. There we go. MG42 catching the rifleman and pushing towards the center. Sniper joining in as well. Riflemen pushing in from the west. And we're seeing airborne and strafing runs. Interesting. Getting... oh, goodness gracious. The MG42 team. That was a bit unfortunate, but the sniper was only pinned down. And a rifle team was lost. Oh, goodness gracious. He's actually looking a bit shabby now, Mr. GrandRoyale. He could get some airborne, that might help with their recoilless rifles, so he could get some dropped anti-tank guns. Stu 42 immobilized. This Stu 42 is in fact looking in bad shape. And the Sherman is awfully close. Pack will have to get close. Same with these stormtroopers and Panzergrenadiers being scorched though, and this jeep has not been reclaimed. Interesting. And Sherman taking quite a bit of fire, will have to retreat, and the Stu 42 will live to see another day. Hooray. And fresh riflemen being sent out to replace the lost team. And we're also seeing, yes, upgrade number 1 for the supply yard. Good move there. Grenadier killed by the Sherman. Sherman retreating. Wehrmacht forces under Helliar slowly pushing out. The elite 17th SS doing their best. Finally. Grenadiers and stormtroopers though could do with a bit of reinforcement, but a fresh assault by the riflemen are moving in. Sniper taking out 1, breaking up the assault a bit, but not much. In fact, looks like this sniper might be caught out in the open. There we go, retreating him. Stormtroopers going straight into the line of things. MG42 opening up on the riflemen. Stormtroopers will have to retreat down to 2 men, 1 man. Stu 42 opening up in support of the MG42, getting another rifleman and a strafing run. Not entirely sure what that was supposed to do. Seems to have done nothing. Perhaps he was hoping to get that sniper.
Germans are seizing territory from
Did he get him? No, he did not, in fact. So a bit of a waste of a strafing run there. You have to be careful with those. They have a bit of a delay now as well, I believe. Which is good. And of course they actually don't work so well against singular units. So be careful with it. Not entirely sure that was the best maneuver for Mr. GrandRoyale. He might have been better going for the armored company and getting a Calliope or Pershing. He really had the advantage and then didn't really push it to the end, which could in fact end up costing him the game. Unless of course Helliar continues to do absolutely stupid things like throw his men out into no cover against troops armed with automatic rifles. That was certainly disgraceful. Riflemen caught out in the open. Grenadiers moving in, opening up. No, not opening up. In fact, riflemen taking a point while under fire, and these grenadiers get close to them. Again, what have I said about moving troops close to opponents with automatic weapons? You don't. You engage them at range, in particular if you only have rifles and a Panzergrenadier. And the Sherman quickly moving in to support, but the grenadiers are already out of there. Stu 42 looking a bit decent, and Helliar getting the Panzer Command. Interesting, apparently opting for some slightly heavy armor, which of course the 17th SS did not have. They did have a Panzer Battalion, but that did not actually have any Panzers. They instead had to do with the Sturk 4. So he's probably getting some support from the Panzer Lair there. And a nice shot from the Stu-42. Sherman conducting an assault on the base, running straight into numerous Panzergrenadiers. That's a bit unfortunate there. Might be able to get some good kills or not. No, it misses. Get out of there, Mr. Sherman, before all is lost. And another nice direct hit to the front. Rifleman pushing through here, getting sniped, getting blasted, getting gunned down. Not the best of luck. In fact, with that, he needs some sort of heavy support for his weapons. He needs some, perhaps a mortar, perhaps a sniper of his own, perhaps a tank destroyer or some more tanks. Stormtroopers and Grenadiers pushing through. And opening up here, but standing out in the open once more. Helliar, what am I told you about cover? I would imagine you watch my channel since you actually send in replays. I do always say use cover, for heaven's sake. And this Stu-42 looking quite battered, actually quite scorched. And Rifleman charging in for these pioneers, but coming under fire from the MG42. Will have to retreat, I wager. One Rifleman down. Helliar still not holding most of the territory, but still finally securing the central victory point. Not sure what the American commander has in mind, but he will need to push through decently. Supply drops getting ready as well. Rifleman going for this victory point, coming under fire, might clear out this MG42. And they do, in fact, no counter movement from Helliar, no Stu-42 to blast those dastardly fellows, and the Jeep moves in, hoping to take out that sniper, and he's forced to retreat straight past these BAR-equipped riflemen. Oh dear. And the pack gets a revenge shot on that Jeep, knocking it out. Panzergrenadiers taking on this MG42, and looking rather interesting. Pack, anti-tank gun airdropped, and in fact, let's pause a bit. Things are, of course, looking rather interesting at the moment. We'll also be going over to Helliar. Situation currently is that the Americans are holding most of the territory, but they have suffered some heavy losses, lost a Sherman, lost some infantry, and they aren't quite able to sort of launch a proper devastating blow. The Stu-42 and those Stormtroopers and Grenadiers with Panzergrenadiers are a bit of a threat because he keeps running his Sherman straight into them instead of dealing with them at range. Perhaps a 50 caliber machine gun might be of help, perhaps laying down some mines to protect against this, or perhaps getting support weapons could also a bit of help, but still not much of either. On the other hand, we are in fact seeing Helliar coming out with a Panzer straight from the Panther pump from the Panzergrenadier. Messing about a bit there verbally, I fear. Stu-42 still holding up nice, but he needs to concentrate his infantry. He needs to keep them in support of each other. He keeps spreading them out, and if he keeps doing that, eventually GrandRoyale will get the drop on him and finish him off. On the other hand, if he can keep that Panther alive, knock out his Shermans, keep it safe from those anti-tank guns, perhaps get a mortar or something else, and generally coordinate things, he might be able to push through. If he can get that Sherman, perhaps deliver a crushing blow to some infantry, he might just do it. But again, it really depends. If Helliar keeps making mistakes like not having troops in cover and such, GrandRoyale will be able to score a grand victory. So let us get back to things. Stu-42 getting the drop on these riflemen, perhaps no, and he still hasn't got any veterancy for his armor, which is a bit interesting. Actually, veterancy 1 for your armor really should be a number 1 priority, as it decreases the damage taken. Panzergrenadier is under fire, and the Sherman moves in from here, getting the drop on the Stu-42. Stu-42 will have to retreat. Pack turning around, and the Sherman gets out of there, probably expecting there's going to be some counterfire from a pack very soon, and there we go. Good job. GrandRoyale. Anti-tank gun did not join in, though that was actually interesting. Didn't move it forward. And engineers not repairing the Sherman either. That's also a bit curious. Riflemen moving in from the east. MG42 forced to set up in the wrong direction. Push through with these riflemen. Get a grenade on them. Panther moving in to join in the fun as well. Grenadiers and Stormtroopers moving out. And the Panther looks to be on a rather straight collision course with that Sherman, getting the drop on it. Not going to be fun being that Sherman commander. And Again, Helliar does seem to have something with keeping his troops out in the open, but it does seem like GrandRoyale has that as well. MG42 cleared out though. Might he take it? No, apparently not. Sherman is gone though. The Panther scored a kill. Yankee armor is kaput. Sturmtruppen taking quite a bit of fire. Panther moving about straight into the line of fire of the anti-tank gun. If he uses armor-piercing rounds, though, he might be able to get some quite good kills on it. And the Tiger being prepared. Sticky bomb on the Panther. My goodness, Helliar, don't tell me you're going to lose that Panther so quickly. In fact, immobilized straight in front of the anti-tank gun. But a most lucky shot, in fact, clears out that anti-tank gun. But still, an M10 could clear it out shortly if it is quick to react. Rifleman forced to retreat, and we are in fact seeing veterans free for some of this infantry. Very good. Rifleman moving in, might get a final sticky bomb off that Panther, and an M10 and another anti-tank gun. Oh goodness gracious. That was quick. And another veterans free rifleman team. That's 2 teams of 3 riflemen. Absolutely devastating, in fact quite lethal. As veterans free riflemen are among some of the most evil things in the game of Company of Heroes. They are in fact Satan's chosen to wreak hell on earth. And I'm not exaggerating. They can in fact turn everything even to even more lethal. Panzergrenadiers become even more powerful, and the LMG-42 becomes insane when it before it's perhaps useless to slightly mediocre. And the M10 though dashing in continually. No idea why he did that though. There was absolutely no reason. Again, it's not a tank, it's a tank destroyer, and it needs support. Instead he lost it to a pack. Still, he got the Panther though. And no attempt by Helliar to actually reclaim any munitions from the jeeps, or any attempt at actually using munitions in any greater degree. No assault rifles for the stormtroopers, and no anything else. Looks like he might be getting that Tiger soon though. Tiger 1E. Come on, Tiger. Tiger. Here, kitty. Come on. And looks like GrandRoyale is not entirely sure what to do. And the Tiger is ready. Really opening up. Schwere Panzerabteilung 101 SS. And a grenade drop right here. Good job, but that doesn't do much to these veterans free riflemen who take less damage and of course are much harder to hit. And this Tiger exposing its rear. Thankfully none of the anti-tank guns are in range, but really a lot of high veterans riflemen ready to do some very nasty damage. Might get a sticky bomb off. Oh goodness gracious. And a thing to note, veterans 2 riflemen have a much longer range for the sticky bombs, which is called why they could throw from this range to there. And of course with veterans 3 they will be doing a lot more damage to that Tiger. Now we go almost down to half health and simply using sticky bombs. So that's another reason to be careful with veterans 3 riflemen. They are absolutely mean bastards. Stu 42 inching forwards. 24 kills, and veterans 3 riflemen right in the range. 2 down. Veterans 3 is still no match for a 105mm howitzer shell, and straight into the arc of fire of the MG-42. 2 more riflemen down. Oh goodness gracious, get it out of there. He might be losing a veterans 3 rifleman team. If he does that, that would be absolutely devastating. And looks like he might barely be getting out of the anti-tank gun though. Moving in, ready to clear out the Stu-42, but the Stu-42 by the grace of the Reich gets out of there. And riflemen pushing through. Surprise, I've not seen a medic station out for the Americans or a medic bunker out for Helliar though. And veterans 3 riflemen getting torn apart out here by MG-42 fire and a Tiger, and retreating them. Good job there. And some mines. Now GrandRoyale laying down some mines. Good job. Doing his best to perhaps just try and hold this area, but a medic station will also be of help. Grenadiers pushing towards the east. Looks like the stormtroopers were in fact lost. Oh dear, Helliar. Unit preservation apparently was never your thing. Nor is armor veterancy. And we looks like we have a bit of a lull here. Anti-tank gun slowly inching forwards, opening up. Apparently there's this machine gun and a reconnaissance run Uncloaking the anti-tank gun. Good move. And coming under fire from the American anti-tank gun. This pack is pulling back. And Volkswagen is forced to run. The gauntlet might be lost. In fact, barely an infantry for Helliar at this moment. Might in fact lose another Volkswagen team. Oh goodness gracious, Helliar. Lots of barbed wire here. Interesting from GrandRoyale. Really hoping to clear out this area and sure no one can move through here. Interesting. Not an entirely bad move, in particular with anti-tank gun to cover. Tiger coming under fire. Rifleman coming under fire as well. Panzer 4 on the move. Still no armor veterancy though. Grenadiers pushing through the west. Not a lot of points though for Helliar compared to the Americans. Panzer 4 gliding past the anti-tank gun by some luck. But might get sticky bomb. No, as another anti-tank gun gets called in. Lots of anti-tank guns out for GrandRoyale. Sticky bomb on the Panzer 4. Setting off a mine. Oh dear. And now straight in the line of fire of anti-tank guns. Tiger as well. Engineer getting torn apart. Clearing out that MG42 again. Second one out for Helliar. Panzer 4 is lost in seconds, I fear.
They're losing territory.
Unit preservation does not seem to be Helliar's forte, or for that matter unit coordination, or particular infantry armor coordination. Looks like this anti-tank gun might be out of control. There we go. And crushing the remnants of the Jeep. And anti-tank gun gets veterancy 1. Tiger might soon be gone. We'll have to retreat. Oh goodness gracious, that is close. Veterancy 3 riflemen though getting fired upon. Still no veterancy for them though, my goodness. And as Ostwind now apparently trying to be salvaged the situation with an Ostwind. No infantry though. Americans pushing in through the east. Still not looking good for Helliar. He doesn't seem again to have that sort of key for unit preservation or solid unit coordination. He seems to be throwing in units, do something good or at least mediocre, and then immediately lose them. Like that Panther. Well, those... Now these grenadiers are coming under fire. 16 kills, so some decent there. We'll need to get them into cover before the riflemen get a grenade on them. And my goodness, 412 munitions. Grenadiers getting torn apart, dropping a grenade on these riflemen, killing one. Nice job. And we are seeing some riflemen moving about here and getting a second infantry team, getting some grenadiers. Good job, Helliar. About bloody time. And Ostwind opening up. Tiger getting repaired and grenadiers getting reinforced as well. Stu 42 ready to react here. Might get a drop on these chaps here. Good, good. One thing she's certainly been doing very well is that Stu 42, in fact, getting a nice shot off there on these engineers. And riflemen, veterancy 3 riflemen might though be able to do something very nice. This is Stu 42. M10 moving in swiftly and boldly, getting off some shots there, and 34 kills and 1 armor kill. Several riflemen lost. Will they get a sticky bomb off? Will they get the sticky bomb off? The bomb off stickies? No. Instead getting pinned down out in the open road. M10 almost clearing out that Stu 42. Get out of there, Stu 42. You are a true ace. Wolfgang von Cowboy Smasher. An absolute Stu 42 ace. The most rare of aces. Well, that and the Hotchkiss, I suppose. And M10 cleared out. Armor preservation doesn't seem to be the strength of either side, actually, nor is armor and infantry coordination. Certainly something both sides could work on. And of course an understanding that M10s are not tanks, they're tank destroyers. This is a vital difference, just like assault guns aren't tanks either. And infantry getting torn apart out in the open and losing an infantry team to the MG42. Grenadiers charging in, one down though on the open road. Another negative cover, again negative cover, mate. Grenades being dropped on the riflemen. One down, grenade dropped, and the MG42 team barely avoids it. Veterancy 3 riflemen getting out of there. Good unit preservation, good, brilliant. In fact, might get another upgrade for the supply yard, and we are seeing more armor coming out of the tank depot. Actually using it for more than just one thing, and then forgetting about it as soon as you lose a unit. Good job, but still need to work on that preservation and coordination. And a support weapon would be nice. A single mortar really could do a difference. to support those anti-tank guns. In fact, he has several anti-tank guns left behind. He doesn't seem to be too good at laying down some sort of deeper defense. No use of machine gun nests, medic stations, or any greater mine usage. I'm not too keen on that. Riflemen getting reinforced. Still 3 veterans with 3 teams. He hasn't used a single airborne team though, interesting enough. In fact, let's go back to GrandRoyale, who still has the advantage here, in fact. Barely any points left for Helliar, and another Sherman hitting the field. Supply yard almost. Could in fact get another upgrade. And getting the 50 caliber upgrade. Good job, good job. Still a medic station would be of great help. Perhaps here would be very nice cover from the enemy. Yet also close to the front line. Riflemen charging in might get the drop on these grenadiers. Only 2 men. Cav is on the field, yes. And an M10. Some coordination between the armor. Good. As American armor doctrine actually specified, the tank destroyers dealt with the tanks while the M4 Shermans just supported the infantry. So good there, but the Sherman and the infantry does seem a bit separate. Anti-tank guns will have to be remanned. In particular now this Tiger's on the field again. Bravely marching out after having been repaired finally. Oh, father might get sticky bombed though. Or not. Instead trying to take a point while under fire. Oh dear. Come on. A glorious shot for the fatherland. Come on, there we go. Tearing apart those dastardly riflemen. Forza Reich. Good Tiger crew. Tiger Gruppe opening up. Anti-tank guns being recruited. Sherman and anti-tank gun on the field. Tiger exposing not the rear but the front. Good job. And we are seeing the M10 tank destroyer marching in. Anti-tank gun blasting away. But the pack is ready to open up some counter-fire in the case that any sort of naughty American armor gets in. Paper panzers, as the Germans would probably call them. Stu 42 continuing to receive repairs, having survived for quite a long time in the face of quite a lot of things. And another M10. Interesting. Not a bad move. Still not a lot of infantry for Helliar though. Although lots of grenadiers now though. Lots of solid infantry for the 17th SS as they are facing more armor from the 3rd Armored Division that keeps pushing it in with tank destroyers as well.
The enemy is down to 100 points.
And down to 100 points, my goodness, it is not looking good for Helliar. He will have to push through. Another anti-tank gun being dropped in. The 82nd Airborne really dropping in a lot of anti-tank guns, but not dropping in any infantry at all. And Grenadiers charging straight into the middle of things, coming under fire from the Sherman. Clearing out the anti-tank gun though.
Losing a victory point.
With forced retreat, and this Stu 42 again heavily damaged and once more forced back for repairs. No repair bunker though, that might actually help things up quite a bit for Helliar. And his Grenadiers are continuing their route of harassment. Quite interesting, only not much for the fuel though. Grenadiers coming under fire from veterans with 3 riflemen tearing apart these grenadiers. In fact, again, only veterans with 1. Grenades being dropped. It looks like these grenadiers might be torn apart. Oh dear. Hasn't gotten veterans with 2 for his riflemen, despite the presence of all these veterans with 3 riflemen might help quite a bit, at least somewhat. No, I'm not entirely sure what Helliar's game is. And he does seem awfully weak in the late, but he's still able to keep up some pressure on the Americans. Still able to keep them at bay, and still able to knock out the armor with some certainty. But still, he keeps losing so much in such stupid ways. And in fact, if it was either side was better at unit preservation and not doing some very foolish things, I'd probably say this game could have ended on a much earlier note. And what is this? Going for a weapon support center, and seeing as he has the ability to call in supply drops, I'm going to bet he's actually going for a sniper there. Interesting move, although I prefer a mortar or a heavy machine gun. Tiger moving in. Anti-tank gun once more recruit. Grenadiers out in the open, coming under fire from a lot. Sherman also getting ready to move in. Ostwind moving in for Deutschland is what some of the Germans Grenadiers are shouting. Ostwind moves in for the flank. A good aggressive maneuver here. Tiger moving in from the other side, opening up on this anti-tank gun. Might clear it out. Grenadiers still forced retreat, but the Ostwinds do have the advantage here for now. And we are seeing Blitzkrieg increasing the rate of fire. And the anti-tank gun is gone. Second Ostwind opening up a lot, but it's in the face of the Sherman. And we are seeing anti-tank gun also under the effect of Blitz, also much more faster firing. Just look at it. The crew just firing away like madmen. And the Tiger continues. My goodness, that was an absolutely nice maneuver there. GrandRoyale's defense is simply too spread out and too uncoordinated to really hold against this combination of speed and firepower. But now it looks like Helliar is once more running out of steam and continuing to just throw in the Tiger without any support. Oh dear, oh dear. Although it might still take out that Sherman. Interesting though that we haven't seen the upground for the Shermans though. Reconnaissance run, and what does this mean? A bombing run perhaps? No, a strafing run? Here? That was absolutely weird. I'm surprised he didn't use a bombing run on this Tiger, for example. That could really have done it, or perhaps on the anti-tank gun, perhaps here again.
Enemy unit down.
That was absolutely weird. Tiger is lost though. Helliar has lost the Tiger, but
Krauts are grabbing territory from us.
I do think that Mr. GrandRoyale really needs to work on his strafing run usage, since he has an absolutely curious way of using it. Ostwind is still there, so is Stu 42, and once more blitzkrieging. My goodness, Helliar has gone full blitz apparently, or something similar. Stu 42 charging in. Rifleman getting torn apart. Sticky bomb on the Stu 42. Blitzkrieg is over. Still damaged engine. Rifleman getting suppressed by the MD42, and looks like the Americans are falling apart in their efforts. No snipers, no tanks, no anything, and no support weapons. Looks like Helliar has in fact managed to break the final line of defense of Mr. GrandRoyale, even with all those veterancy free riflemen and armor. Just wasn't able to really properly use it. And these riflemen are getting torn apart, but still he has most of the territory, but he isn't really able to do any sort of decent effects. And in fact we are a second Stu 42, another sticky bomb off on this one. Damaged engine, and another anti-tank gun being called in. Bunker being set down to protect this area. Not a good thing, placing an anti-tank gun this close to the enemy lines. Anti-tank guns are support units and should be behind your infantry, not in front of the enemy's infantry. Vital difference.
Veterancy gain.
Anti-tank bunker stopped. Grenadiers continuing in. Manpower blitz is ready. If he goes forward, he could get a Tiger. He could get a lot of things, in fact. But looks like Mr. GrandRoyale barely has anything left. Not looking good for him, in fact. And again, a medic station could have been of great help in this fight. And Ostwind Stu 42's moving in. And a grenade being dropped. No, that was a Stu 42, but a sticky bomb is dropped on this one. Ostwind is immobile. Stu 42 inching forwards, and finally getting veterancy 1 for his armor. Finally. Ugh. And assault being used by these false grenadiers, but only one left. That seems a bit wasteful. Rifleman flanking, but coming under fire from the second Stu 42. In fact, a lot of howitzer shells flying in these riflemen, tearing them apart in seconds, forcing them to retreat. Nothing here from GrandRoyale, it seems. Interesting, or not. Seems like he has lost his cool, perhaps just throwing enemy infantry desperately at Helliar in the hopes of getting a VP drain victory. And Grenadiers using assault, it seems, not just a regular grenade. Although it looks like these Grenadiers might be torn apart. No, the riflemen are in fact being torn apart instead. Grenadiers though pulling back in good order. And Grenadiers engaging these engineers, but trying to take a point while under fire. Actual fire, not a good move. And engineers getting torn apart.
Momentum on the field. They're losing territory.
And looks like more American riflemen are getting slaughtered now. It's just seems like Mr. GrandRoyale is unable to really unleash any proper offensive now. Helliar is too strong and he doesn't have any armor support, any other sort of support. In fact, most of his armor and anti-tank guns have been cleared out due to his own mistakes. And now he is paying a terrible price. And a plane is shot down, but it crashes beyond range. Oh dear, that could have been fun to watch. But good shot there from the Ostwind. Quite a battlefield so far, quite devastated, quite a fight, lots of wrecked American and German armor. And what is it with him and dropping anti-tank guns right in the middle of everything without support? Ah, that's just terrible.
They're losing a sector.
Well, not sure what to say entirely. It's rather been a quite interesting and quite intense, but now it's utterly stalling out, as it seems rather clear that GrandRoyale has the first part of it. Lots of riflemen, lots of engineers with flamethrowers, but as soon as it gets away from that, he doesn't seem to have a really decent sort of strategy as how to continue the fight, and now he's just getting slaughtered most brutally by Helliar, who is now able to actually do something. So it seems like a lack of any decent strategy from Mr. GrandRoyale is in fact now biting him in the arse. Whereas Mr. Helliar, who doesn't perhaps seem to have the strongest one or the strongest tactics, is on the other hand still able to do more in the longer run. And these riflemen are now getting torn apart. Machine gun bunker ready to cover this final victory point, and certainly looks like Mr. GrandRoyale's forces getting bled white. Looks like in fact he's lost his... Oh dear, don't tell me he lost that veteran to 3 riflemen team. That would be... Oh, he has. I don't know how I missed that, but that's certainly going to be quite a huge loss. Ostwind getting straight into the range of the veteran C2 anti-tank gun. Might clear out, there we go, but eventually 3 riflemen are sticky bomb, and there we go, might do quite a bit. And now veteran C2 for his armor. Why on earth he's getting it now is beyond me. And vehicle veterancy apparently getting some veterancy for his packs. Now it just seems a bit wasteful though. Anti-tank gun might get the final shot on this Ostwind. Come on, anti-tank gun, before the Ostwind gets you. Destroyed engine, and machine gun bunker opens up. And the Ostwind is gone, my goodness, the wrecks, the deaths, and the Tiger itself is wrecked. And Volksgrenadiers coming under fire, anti-tank and cleared out by these courageous Volksgrenadiers. Getting Volksgrenadiers, actually he's lost them all. Why on earth didn't he get Grenadiers or Stormtroopers? Oh dear me. And the repair station now, it all just seems he's getting all these things now when he doesn't really need them, when the enemy's already defeated. Ow. Well, I certainly hope he learns something from this cast, despite the fact that perhaps not sounding as the most encouraging, but really he's making a lot of mistakes, which against a more competent American commander could really have ended up very, 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 very dead. Anti-pack opening up on this M10. And Panzergrenadiers as well. Main gun destroyed, and a final shot from the pack, and that's going to be good night. And the pack finish it. GrandRoyale, you know what? If believe you, that's not the happiest note to end on, I'd say, and I'd certainly say it's actually GrandRoyale's own bloody fault for not having a decent strategy for when he's actually gotten a good hold, but apparently was not able to really execute anything for which Helliar, despite all his other flaws, was in fact able to really exploit and hammer through. I mean, for example, had Mr. GrandRoyale gone armor instead, gotten a Calliope or a Pershing, that might in fact have been the final nail in the coffin, or an infantry. Instead he sort of went for airborne, didn't get anti-tank guns before everything was falling apart. He didn't get any airborne with recordless rifles, and he kept using strafing runs the most peculiar places. I mean, really. But we do have this, the Stu 42 Ace by its expert tank Stu commander Wolfgang. So there you go, most heroic of shots, I'd argue. So what can we learn from this well-used mines? I mean, really, Helliar came under a lot of pressure because he couldn't figure out how to mine that strategic point. Had he done that, things might have been a lot easier. I mean, he didn't get veterancy either for his armor. He lost a lot of armor because he couldn't get veterancy for it. He didn't bother. He didn't bother getting veterancy 2 for his infantry, which would have helped immensely on survival. And both sides had some pretty poor armor tactics, throwing them in without support, getting them knocked out in seconds. And Helliar lost a Panther like that, and then the other guy just threw in his M10 and lost it in seconds as well. I mean, goodness gracious. Both sides really need to work on their armor tactics. They were atrocious. I mean, that's the thing that would get you whipped at Guderian, or for that matter, Mortal been overwatching. Oh, goodness gracious, don't let Manstein catch you. But that was really terrible. Unit preservation was really bad for Helliar. I mean, he kept losing machine guns and infantry. He didn't use cover. He let his men stand out in the open against several riflemen with BARs, and he just lost them. I mean, that was terrible. Absolutely terrible. Do not do that, I implore you. Do not do that, or it's a trip to the Eastern Front for you, I guarantee it. And the Soviets won't be so nice. I mean, there's so much to comment here. I mean, there was good usage of those Tu-42s in particular. I mean, that was one good thing that Helliar was able to use, and it absolutely did terrible things to his infantry, and he kept throwing them against them. He didn't get any destroyers or anything. He didn't really focus on them. Instead, he just lost armor when he dealt with the anti-tank guns, and the Tu-42s was able to reign supreme. That was brilliant. Good job there from Helliar. Anything else, though? Not so much. Although good push with the Blitzkrieg really caught GrandRoyale's defenses off guard and just pushed through things so good there. But again, from GrandRoyale, poor decision of doctrine, no decisive strategy for actually holding all that which you've taken. No mines, no medic station, no machine gun emplacements. All of those things could have helped immensely. He got barely a few mines, and that was it. Had he gotten a medic station, he probably would have been a much stronger hand. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed this fight. If you did, why not subscribe or tell your friends? And if you didn't, well, why not send in a replay of your own? This is Imperial Dane saying, work on your armor tactics. Cheers.